Thank you for joining me on 13 Plus. I'm Cali Lichter, and this is On the Docket, a weekly recap of crime and court in and around the state of Michigan. This week, coverage from the mass casualty event at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Michigan, and a deeper dive into an emotional sentencing for the death of a mother. All that and more is On the Docket. On Sunday, September 28th, a man drove a car into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township and began shooting at churchgoers. Officials say that suspect then intentionally set the church on fire. 4 people died, along with gunman Thomas Jacob Sanford. 8 people were injured. Well, let's take it back to the start when our crews were in Grand Blanc when the case starts.
Officials now confirm 5 people are dead, including the gunman who opened fire here in Grand Blanc Township. The FBI is calling it an act of targeted violence.
We're working tirelessly. We're working all night on this particular incident.
Chaos unfolded inside the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Sunday morning when 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford from Burton stormed in with an assault rifle, shot worshipers, and set the building on fire.
There is a couple additional bodies that we've discovered in the church, so that makes our total victim count up to 4 victims. As I said before, there has already been the suspect who is deceased as well.
Churchgoers rushed to shield children as officers arrived in under 30 seconds. And within 8 minutes, the gunman was killed in the church parking lot by 2 officers. Officials say the motive for the attack is unclear.
It's hundreds of people just practicing their faith. Just extreme courage, brave, and that's the type of community that we are.
8 other people were injured. The FBI is now leading the case. They believe the suspect used gasoline to start the fire and left behind suspected explosives. Community members like Martin and Debbie Contino showed up with water and snacks for first responders once they heard the news, hoping small acts of kindness send a bigger message.
I hope that the more these things happen, the more other people in the community, regardless of our walk, will be like, we need to do something about this, and it inspires other people to come out and do what we did and to go and be advocates for things that shouldn't be happening. And I hope that that's what the community learns.
There's like a hate epidemic and a mental health crisis and hate epidemic, and I feel like the way you fix that stuff is like loving everybody.
And officials say the church is a total loss, but anyone with information is urged to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. For now, in Grand Blanc Township, I'm Kiara Patterson, 13 on your side.
On September 29th, local, statewide, and nationwide law enforcement released more information on the attack, which brought our crews back to Grand Blanc.
Evil. This was an evil act of violence.
And one that officials believe to have been targeted after a gunman reportedly rammed into the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, opened fire, and burned it to the ground. The scene left 4 people dead, plus the suspect, and more injured.
At this time, what we know is everyone has been accounted for. We still are in the process of clearing out that church.
Officials identified a suspect as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford of Burton. Local and federal officials said they were still trying to determine a motive and continue their investigation.
Our special agents, victim specialists, child advocate forensic interviewers, and local partners have interviewed over 100 victims and witnesses to date and are continuing to interview individuals as we speak.
One official confirming the suspect has been arrested by law enforcement in the past for charges of burglary and OWI. Alongside the investigation, local doctors working to treat the wounded.
We had a total of 8 patients at Henry Ford Genesis from the ages of 6 to 78. 5 were gunshot wounds and 3 were smoke inhalations. 2 of the smoke inhalations have been discharged. One is still intubated at this time.
Law enforcement also now investigating another incident in the area after they say someone drove around the barricades blocking off local streets.
We do have a 21-year-old person in custody for that incident right now.
While the investigation is ongoing and a motive is still unclear, the state's governor urged people to not spread their own conclusions.
Speculation is unhelpful and it can be downright dangerous. So, just ask that people lower the temperature of rhetoric. Keep your loved ones close and keep this community close to your hearts.
People upset about what happened in Grand Blanc stopped by the church to mourn and pray. It was definitely a somber scene as the community comes to mourn. Flowers and crosses placed outside the police barricade in front of the Church of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc as the community comes together to mourn the lives lost and the lives changed after a Sunday morning shooting and fire at the church.
Bishop Rick, he just ended announcements and then started in on his testimony, and that's when we hear a loud boom and the back wall of the chapel just buckles inwards. Everything shook.
Officials say 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford of Burton smashed into the church with his pickup truck and then opened fire with an assault rifle on the hundreds of people inside worshiping and set fire to the building. 4 people and Sanford are dead and 8 are injured.
Just that, I'm thinking I'm a goner. I'm going to get hit because he's shooting at me. He missed every time.
Monday, as law enforcement fills the burned church parking lot, people like Donna Short came to pay their respects.
I just felt compelled to come, show my love, my respect, pray over the area. Just, I don't know, just try to be here for whoever needs anything.
Short heard the sirens from her house.
I remember sitting there listening, and you could hear the firefighters and everyone talking, and just the terror and horror in their voices.
And Dan Beasley from Northville, who brought his cross to the people in mourning.
But what rings different in this situation is these people are here worshiping God and you know, just on their knees praying, and somebody comes in and wants to kill them for their beliefs in God. And those are the same things that I believe in.
For Short, she came to the church to do the one thing she can.
We need Jesus. We need to pray every day against this.
There are still more questions left unanswered, like motive, and we'll continue to bring you updates on air and online as they become available. Next on the docket, how the FBI helped stop a planned school shooting in Allegan County, and drone footage taken over 3 months ago in Allegan County helped lead to a cockfighting arrest in September. We're looking deeper into a foiled school shooting threat in Allegan County. A 15-year-old student is now being charged as an adult and could face life in prison. Court documents say the girl planned to create chaos and cause a mass casualty event at Allegan High School. Blow up Allegan High School's cafeteria and then, quote, go trigger happy on people inside is just part of an alleged elaborate foiled school shooting plot aimed at Allegan public schools by a 15-year-old student. That 15-year-old student is being charged as an adult for making a false report or threat of terrorism, firearm larceny, weapons felony firearm, and a charge for breaking into a safe. We are not releasing her name because she is a minor. The student was arrested after the Allegan City Police Department received a tip from the FBI Detroit field office on September 19th, according to court documents obtained by 13 on Your Side. They were able to track down the student at her home and talk to her with her mother present. According to the court documents, officers with the police department read the girl's messages they had received, which allegedly detailed the girl's plan to cause mass chaos at the school. The alleged plan, in part, was that the girl planned to get her mother's gun and father's van, filling the van with gasoline and fireworks, take it to Allegan County High School, reverse the van into the cafeteria while the fireworks are exploding, get into the building, shoot the officer in the lunchroom, and then, quote, go trigger happy on anyone I see. Another idea alleged in the messages was to break the glass windows on classroom doors, pour gasoline onto the carpeted floors, and set it on fire. She allegedly wrote, quote, if they don't suffocate to death, then they'll just burn, adding she allegedly planned to do this on September 20th, her birthday. Officers found the gun, which documents say was usually stored in a case with a chain-style gun lock wrapped around the handle in her mother's room, in the student's room, in a Sega character box, along with 2 fully loaded magazines. The documents say the girl told detectives she was able to move the lock around the handle just enough to fit her hand in the case to get the gun in the magazines. A statement from the Allegan Public Schools superintendent says in part, "As you can gather from the seriousness of the charges, the swift actions from law enforcement personnel ensured the safety of our students and staff." The statement also said the school is working closely with law enforcement to maintain a safe learning environment. And we're learning more today about the woman charged with the shooting death of her husband. Michelle Matos Colon is in custody at the Ottawa County Jail on a $1 million bond. Court documents say Matos Colon was intoxicated when she allegedly killed her husband for years of repeated abuse. A wife who allegedly shot and killed her husband in Georgetown Township would have never done it if she was sober, according to court documents obtained by 13 on Your Side. Michelle Matos Colon is in custody and held on a $1 million bond for the September 25th murder of her husband, Elicer Lores Montano. Ottawa County deputies were dispatched to a Georgetown Township apartment complex for a domestic call, which authorities say was called in by Matos Colon, saying she had killed her husband because he assaulted her. When deputies arrived, they found Lores Montano dead in the apartment building stairwell. An hour after they were dispatched, during an interview with Matos Colon, she allegedly admitted she had shot her husband after an argument. The couple had been having marital problems, and court documents say domestic violence incidents went unreported for years. After her husband had returned home to talk, the documents say he became physical with his wife. Court documents say Matos Colon told detectives she was intoxicated, drinking 29 cans of Michelob Ultra beer from 4 p.m. to around 8 a.m. that morning. During a breathalyzer test around 4 hours after she allegedly stopped drinking, her blood alcohol content was 0.145. The next day, while sober, court documents say Matos Colon admitted to detectives she had gotten her gun from a purse in her room and acted like she was scratching her back, but she was actually pulling the gun from a holster inside her purse. The gun still behind her back, court documents say Lores Montano walked towards the door facing her, with Matos Colon telling her husband, quote, "You'll never hurt me again," pulling the trigger. Matos Colon, quote, believes that she shot him because she was angry at the many years of abuse and she was intoxicated. She denies that he was advancing towards her when she shot him. Matos Colon stated that she would not have shot him if she was sober. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. We also have resources on our website, 13onyourside.com. And a cockfighting ring, when roosters are forced to fight against each other, was busted in Allegan County. The group that helped take it down says there is more to be done.
This ain't over until we say it's over.
What you're seeing now is drone footage taken by Showing Animals Respect and Kindness, or SHARK, of an alleged cockfighting ring in Allegan County taken in July. The homeowner is now charged with multiple counts related to running the cockfight on his property, where deputies found animal fighting equipment and dozens of dead roosters.
They get off on animals killing each other, cutting each other to ribbons with weapons that have been attached to their leg.
Eden Rodas has been under investigation since July after Shark handed the video over to the Allegan County Sheriff's Office. The video shows multiple people who appear to be paying bets, dead and dying roosters, and a person clubbing roosters in the head. After a search warrant on Rodas's property, deputies found spurs, usually tied to the bird's leg, used to kill or incapacitate the other bird, animal antiseptic, steroids, and multiple shallow holes, one filled with 36 dead roosters. Some holes were not dug up, with court documents saying the smell was too bad.
You may not care one whit about animals at all. You might not even like chickens, but there's a reason for you and your family to not want cockfighters in your neighborhood or even in your state.
Shark president and founder Steve Hindy says cockfighting is a gateway to other illegal acts because of the lack of investigation into operations. In this case, Hindy says if law enforcement would have acted sooner, more people would have been charged.
The problem for us is that there would have been dozens of people charged if they had dealt with it in the moment when we were contacting them and telling them what was going on.
This is Shark's first cockfighting bust in Michigan, but Hindy says it won't be their last. Next on the docket, we take a closer look at an emotional sentencing for a mother killed on an Ionia County road in February 2025. That's coming up in this week's Sentencing Breakdown. An Ionia County judge sentenced a man who caused a crash that killed a young mother in February. On the Sentencing Breakdown, we take a look at the case of 27-year-old Zachary Lawler, who was driving south on M66 when he crossed the center line and hit another car driven by 31-year-old Kendra Besson. Besson died at the scene. Her husband and 2-year-old daughter were hurt in the crash but survived. Besson's relatives addressed the court. But before we get to them, let's hear from Lawler's attorney.
The court is aware that these cases are really difficult, and having spent a significant amount of time with Mr. Lawler, he is extremely sorry for what happened the night that this occurred. He, as the family is aware, because we have read their letters, has lost a loved one, and so he also does not know the specific circumstances that they're going through, but he is sorry. Nobody wins. I know the punishment that Mr. Lawler is going to receive may not seem to be enough, but he is extremely sorry. He is remorseful. He's taken accountability for his actions. Judge, I know it took a while to get here. Some of that is my doing. But once Mr. Lawler resigned himself to the fact that accountability was necessary, he entered a plea of guilty before the court. And to his credit, when we met at the office the last time, he said, I think I need to go to jail too. I need to start doing that for everybody involved. And he did. If the court will recall, he entered his plea, asked the court revoke his bond 2 days later so he could get some of his affairs in order, and he's been in jail ever since. So we do have a plea agreement in place, Judge. I'm going to ask that the court follow that plea agreement.
Next, we hear brief words from Lawler himself.
I would just like to extend my deepest condolences to the family. I know how hard it is to lose a loved one, and I just am truly sorry that they have to go through this, and I'm sorry for their loss, and may she rest in peace.
Now it was Besson's family's turn to speak, starting with a statement read from her mother.
Kendra was a bright, compassionate, and determined young woman. At 31, she had already shown incredible strength and work ethic. While working full-time, she went to school to become a medical assistant. She supported herself, maintained a household, and completed her schooling, then secured a job at a local clinic where she cared for others. Kendra loved her work and was proud of the life she was building. Kendra married Trevor on October 24, 2020. Together, they blended their family with Trevor's son, Kelvin, whom Kendra absolutely adored. They worked tirelessly renovating Trevor's childhood home with the dream of creating a warm, safe place for their family, even planning a basement apartment for Trevor's mother. Their hard work paid off. On April 27, 2022, our family welcomed Remy. Losing Kendra has shattered us. There is an empty chair at our table that will never be filled. Holidays, birthdays, and ordinary days are now painful reminders of what we no longer have. I struggle every day with overwhelming grief and an ache that will not go away. It sometimes feels as if a part of me has been taken, and in many ways it has. The human being I carried, raised, and loved is gone. The worst part of this is how it has affected Remy. She was only 2 years old when the accident took her mother. After the accident, Remy came to stay with us for 7 weeks while Trevor was healing. My heart breaks watching a toddler call for mommy and not understand why she cannot have her back. Sleepless nights follow daytime sobbing. I find myself holding Remy and crying for my daughter for all the moments they will never have together. Birthdays, school events, first days of kindergarten, conversations only a mother and daughter could have. Those ordinary milestones are gone for them because of what happened. Kendra's death has affected more people than I can list. I ask the board to understand that Kendra was not simply a name or a statistic. She was a daughter, a wife, a mother, a sister, and a friend. She was a woman who worked hard, who nurtured others, and who brought love into the lives of everyone who knew her. We are forever changed by her loss. Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to speak today and for considering the impact this tragedy has had on our family. Respectfully.
Next, Kendra's older sister, Marissa, who says her sister lived to serve others, and hopefully this helps prevent this from happening to another family.
She lived to serve others, and the day that she died was no different. She was picking up and delivering medications for a family member, doing what she always did, putting others first. Kendra was a mother of a beautiful 3-year-old daughter named Remy and a loving stepmother to her grandson, Calvin. Her children will now grow up without her voice, her hugs, her guidance, and her unwavering love, all because of a preventable tragedy. Every day, people wake up with the intention of returning home to their families. We go to work, we run errands, we make plans for dinner and bedtime stories, and Kendra did the same. But the defendant made a series of intentional decisions, those that we may not know of, that shattered those plans and stole her future. This wasn't just an accident, it was a reckless and avoidable act that ended a life and devastated a family. The pain of losing Kendra is indescribable. Her absence is felt in every quiet moment, every missed birthday, every milestone. Her children will reach without her. It's felt most deeply during my quiet drive home when she used to call me every single day. That silence is now deafening. My parents have lost their daughter, I've lost my sister, and the whole world has lost someone who have had so much more to give. We ask the court to recognize the full weight of this loss. We are not here for revenge, we are here for accountability. We hope the sentence reflects the seriousness of the choices made and the irreversible damage that has been caused. And above all, we hope this moment serves as a turning point for the defendant to think twice before ever getting behind the wheel again and risking another life. We want him to learn how to show up as the best version of himself every day and develop the proper coping mechanisms needed to make better choices, not just for himself, but for everyone around him. We know that we can't change the outcome, but we can help prevent this from happening again to another family.
Next, the middle sister of their trio, Tara, who asked Lawler to be held accountable, not out of anger, but out of love.
My name is Tara Bishop, and I'm here today because my little sister Kendra is no longer with us. Her life was taken as a result of someone else's choices, reckless choices that have left a permanent hole in our family and in the lives of her daughter Remy, whom is 3, and stepson Kelvin, whom is 11. Kendra was not just my sister, she completed our sister tripod. She was my support system and someone I knew I could always count on. She was kind, strong, compassionate, and she had so much life left to live. But more than anything, she was a mother. Her stepson Kelvin, 11, and daughter Remy, 3, now have been forced to grow up without their mom or stepmom. They will never again feel the safety of her arms or hear her voice cheering them on in life. That loss is not just tragic, it is devastating beyond words. I understand that the driver was dealing with the grief of losing his own mother. I do not wish to be heartless about that pain. Grief affects people in different ways. We all have a responsibility to manage our pain without causing harm to others. His personal grief does not undo the fact that his behavior, whether impaired judgment, distraction, or disregard for safety, directly led to the death of my sister. Kendra's death was not a random accident, it was preventable, and the consequences of that moment have fallen hardest on those who did nothing wrong, especially Kelvin and Remy, who now face a lifetime without their mother. Your Honor, I'm asking this court to hold the driver accountable, not out of anger, but out of love. Out of love for Kendra Besson, out of love for her children, and out of deep belief that when life is lost due to someone else's actions, there must be justice. Holding the driver accountable brings justice to my sister's death, but more importantly, it brings value to her life. It says that Kendra mattered, that her children's pain matters, that the way she was taken from us cannot and should not be ignored. Justice acknowledges that her life had meaning and that her death demands responsibility.
We're at the halfway point of this sentencing breakdown. When we come back, more emotional testimony from Kendra's mother-in-law, and we hear what the judge has to say about the case. Even more emotional testimony followed from Kendra's mother-in-law, who says she had to break the news Kendra was gone, shattering everyone.
Urgency to make sure that Remy was safe in the arms of someone she trusted. The panic of seeing a dark vehicle flipped upside down and wondering, is that my family? The relief of hearing my son yell out, "I love you," when he recognized my voice. The comfort when Remy, 2 years old, responded, "I'm hungry," when I asked her how she was doing. A normal answer in the midst of chaos. And then the crushing moment, the first responder told me that Kendra did not make it. I lost the air in my lungs, even though I feared the truth after seeing her CRV, and hearing this is spoken out loud broke me. One of the hardest things I have ever had to done was making the phone calls to tell our family. The panic when I couldn't reach Kendra's mom. Knowing she needed to be told first. That was her baby girl. She had to be told right away. My dad calmed me and reassured me that he will not stop till he had been able to talk to Kim. The helplessness of hearing my youngest son scream over the phone, begging me to stop, saying it can't be true, as he realized his sister-in-law was gone and his brother's life will forever be changed. The heartbreak of walking into Helen DeVos' emergency room with Remy and being forced to say the words that no grandmother should say. Her mother was just killed in a car accident, and that and more happened in just an hour. In the morning, Trevor had to tell Calvin, I will never forget the look on my 11-year-old grandson's innocent face as his mind tried to process his dad's words. My Kendra, as he always called her. Like, she's dead? He asked. Then he crumpled to the floor and sobbed. My heart was shattered again. Please, Zach, is to you. You know what it is to grieve. You lost your mother, Lola, and I was told that her death was part that led you down this destructive path. You know the pain of loss. You had about 25 years with your mom. Calvin and Remy had so little time with their mother. Calvin only 8 and Remy just 2.5. So I beg you, don't waste the second chance. Please, please don't let her death, Kendra's death, be in vain. Make her loss a turning point that changes your life. Be a man who has a story but learned from the actions and changed his life. Honor your mother by being the man that she would be proud of. Kendra Marie Besson was taken from us too soon. Our lives will never be the same. Her love, her laughter, her kindness, they remain. We will carry her forward for Calvin and Remy. And Zach, I hope to you carry her forward too, by changing, by growing, by living in a way that makes this world better, as she always did.
The prosecutor felt like everything was already laid out in the courtroom.
Your Honor, I think anything I might say at this point would only detract from what's been said. There's been a lot of grief in this room.
And finally, the judge who handed down the sentence.
This court sees all kinds of cases. I see everything from a simple speeding ticket to murder. And I can say these are the most difficult cases because no matter what I can do within the power that the law gives me, I can't change what's happened. And whatever I do doesn't seem to be balanced against a life that's been lost. And speaking to the family now, I think you know that. I've heard that echoed in the statements that have been made in the statements that I've read, that the law prescribes a year in jail and up to 2 years of probation. And that never, ever will be balanced against a life, any life. And what makes this case particularly hard is that the life of Kendra can never be balanced. Just the sheer number of people who are here today either in the courtroom or here by video, speaks to me as far as the kind of person Kendra was, and the light and the love that she brought to so many lives. It tells me that. I've never met her, never seen her, and I've seen some pictures here today. But the number of people that are here and the amount of grief, that just a slice of grief that I've seen speaks to me and tells me that there's nothing that I can ever do to balance that. And so I just want to speak to the family and say I'm in awe of the courage and the love and the light that you bring here today. I hope that, it's my belief, not just hope, but I believe that love and that courage and that light will carry you on. And already in some of the statements I've heard, you were on a bad path that brought you there. And apparently it was your own grief that brought you to that path. And I guess the question is now, does a second life get lost? Or have you been spared in your young life to now go out and make real change and maybe do good things yet on this earth? Maybe good things that Kendra would have done, considering her calling that she had. You know, so that's it. That's the question you're going to have to ask yourself when you look in the mirror every morning and get up. Am I now going to carry the torch and bring light to this world, or are two lives going to be lost? And so that's my challenge to you, and that's hopefully what this sentence does, is brings healing to everyone, the family and to you.
Lawler was sentenced to 90 days in jail with 28 days credit for time served and 2 years probation because his charges are misdemeanors. He cannot violate any law, commit no violent behavior, cannot consume any alcohol or drugs, and cannot drive a motor vehicle. He has to complete a 16-hour Crime for Life program and the TED Moral Recognition Therapy, also known as MRT cognitive behavior, and must complete 400 hours of community service by the end of probation. Thanks for joining me in this episode of On the Docket on 13+. We have new episodes releasing every week, taking you into the courtroom for the latest updates and deep dives on crime in and around West Michigan. In the meantime, we'll bring you the latest on crime, on court, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. When breaking news affects you and your community, we stream live on 13+ with what you need to know right when you need to know. We'll see you next time with updates on What's on the Docket.